Welcome to Side 1, Radio Infinity Speaks, 1 year anniversary edition. If we're using the Chicago numbering system, this would be number 7. The 1 is brought to you by, well, you. Without the loyal subscribers and listeners, Radio Infinity would not have survived the pandemic. So, let's get started. The logos. It's incarnation and evolution, old school to fresh. When I first started Radio Infinity back in June of 2020, I wanted it to appear more like an old school radio station, FM or an AM station, and the logos had an old school 30s, 1930s or 1940s radio. And if you go back and look at the old videos, you'll see that it was an old dial type radio with the logo within the speaker. And I thought that was important because what it represented was that you would turn your dials to the Radio Infinity station, and what came out of the speaker would be whatever I was playing that week on vinyl. And it was important that it was like a radio station. I consider myself somewhat of a DJ. I'm not good at it, but I like to consider myself one, and it was fun. It was more fun than a job, right? So throughout the evolution of the logos, there was a single radio to a single vertical radio to a horizontal radio, and the logo was also in the speaker, but I got it to rotate as if it was a vinyl record, because, well, the logo was a vinyl record, a red, white, and blue vinyl record, but it was rotating like it was playing, and that was a pretty cool logo, I must admit. And the radio itself, the one I upgraded it to, was still an old school type of radio. It was like a 1930s, maybe 40s or 50s now radio, but it had 3 dials. And moving on, the logos evolved, and it turned more into a radio internet streaming station where things looked a little bit more high tech, and it was more modern, and it looked, like something you would see at a Spotify station or a Pandora station or possibly like a Sirius XM station. But it continued to evolve, but still had some of its old school flavor to it. And this leads us to the final logo, which is what it is right now. But it may change within the next week or two. But right now, the current logo has On the Air, and it has the latest Radio Infinity logo. And that is pretty awesome. So it's more blue. I'm going with the darker blue colors and blacks, and sort of like a neon sign, which was the On Air. So that makes it look more modern and more cool blue, cool jazzy kind of feel to it. So that pretty much covers the logos part. The next part is the bumpers, from normal to extraordinary radio to internet friendly. So the early on bumpers that I created for the channel, and maybe it was there for the intro to the channel as well, they went from sort of a trying to pick up like a 1950s, 1960s feel bumper to a radio station that you would hear, maybe some singing along, some toony, kind of like cartoony kind of thing. But now it has sort of, the bumpers have evolved as well. Everything has evolved. So I'll keep using the word evolved. But the bumpers now has gone from like a campy, cartoony to more, the the station is hip. It's cool. It has a cool bass line to it. It's in your face, and the music will be a mix. You know, it may be a classic rock where it's going to rock out. It may be soft. It may be Spanish at one point. Maybe it may be jazzy. So it just depends on what I feel like playing that one week, and that's why we're the mix at Radio Infinity, because we keep you on your toes and keep it fresh. So the streams themselves. The streams, they went from plain Jane to tech savvy, and it's still a current work in progress. The the first, I don't know, the first five, maybe first three to first five um, records that were played on the Chicago Infinity station, and soon were moved to Radio Infinity. But the very beginning, I had not resolved the issue of having better quality. Right, it's still not great, but it's better than what it was before. And what I was doing before was pretty much having the laptop microphone pick up the sound from the surround sound here in my apartment, and it sounded okay, but it still sounded like you were in an auditorium or in a hall, and it wasn't coming directly into the laptop. Records that I play now are USB direct connect to my laptop, and it's picking up um, a, um, a USB connection from the record player, from the turntable. So there shouldn't be any loss. Sound could be a little bit better on the playback, but you know, you have the option to raise the volume, to lower the volume, to do whatever. So the sound is, you know, mid tier, mid volume. So you have that ability to adjust volume accordingly. So it went from something that was sort of you know, a fun start to something that's more tech savvy, and my attempt to make the sound weekly better. So the inspiration for making Radio Infinity, it pretty much started, like I said on the previous topic, at Chicago Infinity. It was early last year, maybe March or April, where I just said, let's, you know, I have a lot of subscribers on my other channel on Chicago Infinity, and let me do something for them. Let me do something for me. And I have a lot, if not all, of the old Chicago vinyl records. And I thought, you know what? We have time. I'm working from home, and I'm not going out. So let me, once a week, I started out, you know, trying out the first album, which was, I guess, the first, I don't know, 4 or 5 Chicago albums are double vinyl records. So I did, I think the first week I did it Thursday and Friday, and that continued on until the double vinyls were finished and went to just single vinyl records per album. And you know, it started with Chicago. So I started playing, you know, Chicago Transit Authority and Chicago 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and you know, that's how they have their numbering scheme. So that's what I decided to do. And after a while, I got a little bit afraid of, you know, it being copyrighted every week. So I said, instead of them possibly taking down Chicago Infinity, where there's a lot of subscribers, let me create a new channel. And since I decided to go with Chicago Infinity for the first channel, I said, let's make a Radio Infinity, because I've always had a love of music, and I've always loved listening to the radio, especially as a kid. And listening to AM, listening to FM, listening to music, recording music off the radio to a cassette, making mixed cassettes, making mixed tapes. And I said, well, I'm pretty good at audio editing and audio in general. So I created Radio Infinity. So the inspiration, ironically, is Chicago. They were the inspiration. So, last week's review, Chicago 9, Chicago's Greatest Hits. It goes back to the very beginning. And Chicago 9, Chicago Greatest Hits, both sides are all hits. So with that one album, it went multi-platinum. It sold the most out of any Chicago album. So that album was the most appropriate for the 1-year anniversary. And, for this, talking about the side one, Radio Infinity Speaks, this album was perfect because this album incorporated everything from Chicago Transit Authority to Chicago 7 or Chicago 8. And that album was, or Chicago 9, the first greatest hits album, has everything on it. You hear the songs, you sing the songs, you remember where you were, you have good memories of the songs, and it was something worth playing and sharing. And it wasn't, when I played Chicago 9 back on Radio Infinity, it was the quadraphonic version. And that version was special too, because back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, there was something called the quadraphonic receiver and setup, where it was one receiver with 4 speakers, and it was like the precursor to surround sound. It was a precursor to Dolby Surround. And this album would have played awesome on a quadraphonic system. I don't have one, but it still played fairly well. It was missing some instruments and stuff, but it was interesting to hear it on a regular turntable, or a regular stereo turntable. And that was a fun part of playing it, just so we can hear the differences in the songs as opposed to what I played last week. So Chicago 9, Chicago's Greatest Hits, was a great album to play last week. So in conclusion, I want to say thanks to all the subscribers who watch and join the live vinyl streams. You are appreciated for helping this guy get through a tough 2021. So again, be on the lookout for preview videos for upcoming vinyl streams. And as always, as I end my vinyl streams, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you next time here on The Mix at Radio Infinity.